If you had the chance to undo one of the biggest mistakes in your life, don't you think you'd do it? Well, today in an alternate universe, we offer that chance to every NFL team. There's no changing the past in the football world, but when it comes to draft history, it's always fun to play the what-if game. For example, what if every NFL team got the chance to redo their biggest draft mistake? Football history would be a lot different, that's for sure. But with that said, let's go ahead and redraft every NFL team's biggest draft bust ever. Arizona Cardinals, Randy Moss, 1998. Andre Wadsworth, the number 3 pick in 1998, failed to live up to expectations in the desert. If only Arizona had taken Randy Moss with that selection instead. The second best receiver of all time somehow fell to the Minnesota Vikings in the 21st spot. One can only imagine how scary that offense would have been with Moss and Larry Fitzgerald. The Atlanta Falcons, Michael Irvin, 1988. Atlanta spent the first pick of the 88 draft on linebacker Andre Bruce. He was a serviceable starter, but he never was a star. Hindsight is 2020, but Atlanta probably would have been better off selecting future Dallas Cowboys icon Michael Irvin. The Miami product went 11th overall to Dallas, and, well, we know how that turned out. Baltimore Ravens, John Abram, 2000. The Ravens have honestly done a very wonderful job in avoiding franchise-crippling draft busts. That said, the Travis Taylor selection, number 10 overall in 2000, left a lot to be desired. The 2000 draft wasn't really great by any means, but it featured plenty of very good players. And one of them was John Abram, who the Ravens could have really used. The 5-time Pro Bowl pass rusher racked up 133.5 career sacks. Buffalo Bills, Dan Hampton, 1979. The Bills spent the top pick in the 79 draft on Tom Cousineau. Who knows, he could have been great, but Cousineau decided to start his career in the CFL and never wound up playing for Buffalo. Just 3 picks later, the Chicago Bears took Arkansas defensive lineman Dan Hampton. He could have been the game-wrecking force that the Bills thought they had in Cousineau. Hampton was absolutely instrumental in the Bears Super Bowl 25 championship season and proudly owns a gold jacket. Carolina Panthers, Jason Taylor, 1997. Caruth could have been a star, but he got involved in a horrific off-the-field crime. And in 2001, he was convicted for conspiracy to commit murder. You see, Caruth hired someone to murder his then-pregnant girlfriend, Cherika Adams, who sadly died from her wounds. Thankfully, though, the doctors were able to deliver the baby. The Panthers also passed twice on a future Hall of Famer in Jason Taylor, who went 73rd overall to the Miami Dolphins. The young Carolina franchise missed out big time on the chance to land a true cornerstone. Chicago Bears, Patrick Mahomes, 2017. The Bears should have taken Mahomes 2nd overall in 2017, but instead, they took quarterback bust Mitch Trubisky. And we will just leave it at that. Cincinnati Bengals, Warren Sapp, 1995. Cincinnati traded up via Carolina to snag Penn State RB Keyjana Carter 1st overall. But unfortunately, injuries quickly derailed Carter's career. The Bengals could have found a future franchise star in Warren Sapp, who ended up going 12th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers instead. Cleveland Browns, Donovan McNabb, 1999. McNabb was one of the NFL's best quarterbacks of the 2000s, leading the Philadelphia Eagles to 5 NFC Championship game appearances and a Super Bowl 39 berth. Surely, he would have been an upgrade over Tim Couch, whom the Browns took 1st overall that year. Dallas Cowboys, Curley Culp, 1968. Culp went 31st overall to the Denver Broncos in the 68 draft. The 1975 Defensive Player of the Year earned 6 Pro Bowl nods and a spot in Canton. He certainly would have done a ton of great things in Dallas. Too bad they passed on him and used the number 20 pick on rarely used receiver Dennis Homan. Denver Broncos, Dak Prescott, 2016. 2 months after winning Super Bowl 50, the Broncos traded up to select big Memphis QB Paxton Lynch, 26th overall. Peyton Manning had retired, and Denver desperately needed a new quarterback. It's just too bad they took the wrong one. Lynch started just 4 games and was cut after 2 seasons. The Cowboys used the 135th overall selection in round 4 on Dak Prescott, who has been a top 10 QB since stepping onto the field. Detroit Lions, Troy Polamalu, 2003. Polamalu was the second best safety of his era behind only Ed Reed. He could have single-handedly changed the dynamic of Detroit's defense for a decade plus. The Lions spent the number 2 pick of the 2003 draft on Charles Rodgers, hoping he'd become a super weapon for Joey Harrington. Injuries unfortunately cut Rodgers' career short, and he was out of the league after 3 years. Polamalu went 16th overall to the Steelers and played an instrumental role in helping them win 2 Super Bowls. Green Bay Packers, Deion Sanders, 1989. 4 of the top 5 picks in the 1989 draft became Hall of Famers: Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders. The only top 5 pick who wasn't? Tony Mandarich, who went 2nd overall to the Packers. Mandarich never even came close to reaching expectations. It's too bad because the Packers really could have used the talents of prime time. If Sanders was on that star-studded Packers group of the 90s, they could have totally won more than 1 Super Bowl. Houston Texans, Julius Peppers, 2002. The Texans took Fresno State QB David Carr with the first selection in franchise history back in 2002. The next pick was Julius Peppers, who pieced together a Hall of Fame career in Carolina. Could you imagine a veteran Peppers playing alongside a young J.J. Watt? Speaking of which, Jacksonville Jaguars, J.J. Watt, 2011. The Jaguars made a big mistake by trading up for quarterback Blaine Gabbert at number 10 overall in 2011. They passed on several future superstars, but none bigger than J.J. Watt. The 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, of course, was taken with the pick after Gabbert to the AFC South rival Texans, no less. Indianapolis Colts, Darren Woodson, 1992. Steve Empman, the first overall pick in the 1992 draft, was easily the biggest draft bust in Colts history. In a do-over, let's give the Colts Darren Woodson. He went 37th overall to the Cowboys and played a massive role in their 3 Super Bowl championship seasons in the 90s. The 5-time Pro Bowler and 4-time first-team All-Pro could have been a major difference maker there in Indianapolis. Kansas City Chiefs, Dan Marino, 1983. The Chiefs passed on 2 future Hall of Fame QBs in this dream class of signal callers. Todd Blackledge went 7th overall to KC. Jim Kelly went 14th to the Buffalo Bills, and Dan Marino went 27th to the Dolphins. Marino, arguably the greatest pocket passer ever, led the league in passing yards 5 times and earned 9 Pro Bowl nods. KC wouldn't find a true superstar QB until they landed Patrick Mahomes in 2017, 34 years after passing on Marino in favor of Blackledge. Las Vegas Raiders, Calvin Johnson, 2007. The Raiders made a ton of painful draft mistakes in the 2000s, but none of them hurt more than the Jamarcus Russell pick. He went 1st overall in the Dream 2007 class, but was out of the league after 3 seasons. The 2nd pick in the draft, future Hall of Fame wideout Calvin Johnson. Oakland lacked a bona fide stud wideout until they took Amari Cooper in the 2015 draft. So yeah, they totally could have used Megatron. Los Angeles Chargers, Charles Woodson, 1998. Every Chargers fan knows the whole Ryan Leaf story. We don't need to ramble on about it, but we can tell you about the guy they should have taken with the number 2 pick in 1998. 2 picks after Leaf, the Raiders took Charles Woodson 4th overall. One of the greatest defensive backs ever. Woodson could have taken the Junior Seau and Rodney Harrison-led defense to a whole new level. Instead, the Chargers had to deal with playing against him in the AFC West all those years. Los Angeles Rams, Ray Lewis, 1996. Trading away star running back Jerome Bettis just so they could take the troubled Lawrence Phillips 6th overall in 1996 was a big mistake for the Rams. Could you imagine if they had kept Bettis and just used that pick to draft Ray Lewis instead? Phillips didn't even last 2 seasons before the Rams cut him. Lewis, on the other hand, went 26th overall to the Ravens and powered the franchise to a pair of Lombardi trophies during his Hall of Fame career. If the Rams had him during the greatest show on turf era, you'd have to think they would have won more than 1 Super Bowl. Miami Dolphins, Travis Kelce, 2013. Miami traded up to take Deion Jordan 3rd overall in 2013. Jordan was a giant bust, playing 2 seasons in South Beach before getting released. Based on what we know now, you'd have to think Miami would much rather have All-Pro tight end Travis Kelce, who wasn't taken until the 3rd round at number 63 overall. The Chiefs star is only the best tight end in the game, and he would have been a wonderful piece to build the offense around. Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Rodgers, 2005. This one is easy. The Vikings didn't get much out of Troy Williamson, the number 7 pick in the 2005 draft. So instead, we hand Minnie arguably the most talented quarterback of all time in this spot. For starters, Minnie would be a Super Bowl contender for the next decade plus with Rodgers. And at the same time, they wouldn't have to deal with all the agony A-Rod has put them through as a member of the Packers over the past 2 decades. New England Patriots, Ed Reed, 2002. We all know how much Bill Belichick loved and respected Ed Reed. With 6 Super Bowl rings as the Patriots head coach, Belichick doesn't regret anything. Or maybe he does. I mean, Ed Reed was there for the taking when the Pats picked at number 21 overall in 2002, but they took tight end Daniel Graham out of Colorado. And 3 picks later, the lucky Ravens snagged Reed, who was a bit of a thorn in Tom Brady's side for many years. New Orleans Saints, Joe Montana, 1979. The Saints used the number 11 pick in the 1979 draft on kicker/punter Russell Erxelbin. Using such an early pick on a special teams player is never really a good idea for starters. But to think of how much history could have changed if the Saints drafted Joe Montana instead. He somehow slipped to the San Francisco 49ers at number 80 overall? Would the 49ers dynasty ever have even existed? Or would Joe Cool have led NOLA to multiple championship parades on Bourbon Street? Sadly, it's a timeline we will never know. New York Giants, Marvin Harrison, 1996. Statistically speaking, Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison are the greatest pass-catching duo of all time. The G-Men could have prevented it from happening though, if they had only taken Harrison in the 1996 draft. Instead of Harrison, who went to Indy at number 19 overall, they used the number 5 pick on defensive end Cedric Jones. He logged just 15 sacks in 5 seasons with the Giants, whereas Harrison became one of the all-time great wideouts. New York Jets, Josh Allen, 2018. It's a shame the Jets took the wrong QB with the number 3 pick in the 2018 draft. They took Sam Darnold, but did him no favors by supplying him with Adam Gase and a lack of talent. 4 picks later, the AFC East rival Buffalo Bills took Josh Allen 7th overall. And he's only a top 5 QB in the game. As for Darnold, well, he only lasted 3 seasons in Gotham. Yikes. Philadelphia Eagles, Derek Brooks, 1995. Mike Mamula's showing at the 1995 Draft Combine may be the best ever, so it was hard to fault the Eagles for using the number 7 pick on him. But Mamula failed to grow into a star, unlike Derek Brooks. The future Hall of Fame linebacker went 28th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and wreaked havoc on a weekly basis for 14 seasons. Brooks could have been the main star on all those talented Eagles teams in the Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb era. Too bad they passed on him. Pittsburgh Steelers, Brett Favre, 1991. Huey Richardson, the number 15 pick in 1991, lasted just 1 season for the Steelers. But what if they had drafted future MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Hall of Famer Brett Favre instead? Mediocre from the quarterback position prevented an elite Steelers team under Bill Cowher from winning more Super Bowls in the 90s and early 2000s. Taking Favre would have netted them even more championships in the Steel City. San Francisco 49ers, Ozzie Newsome, 1978. Newsome is one of the greatest tight ends of all time. The 49ers could have used him all right. Too bad they passed on him and used the number 7 pick in 1978 on Notre Dame product Ken McCaffrey instead. McCaffrey lasted just 2 NFL seasons before going on to enjoy a successful career in dentistry. Newsome, a proud member of Canton, would have been quite the weapon for Joe Montana during the 49ers' heydays in the 80s. Seattle Seahawks, Clay Matthews III, 2009. Seattle needed help in the front 7. Clay Matthews III, a future game wrecker in Green Bay, could have been that guy for them. But the Seahawks used the number 4 pick on all-time draft bust Aaron Curley. And it was the Cheeseheads who struck gold with Matthews at number 26 overall. And to think, we could have seen the 6-time Pro Bowler line up alongside Seattle's Legion of Boom secondary. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Charles Haley, 1986. The Bucs used the top pick in the 1986 draft on Jackson. However, he refused to play for them and instead pursued a professional baseball career. He would, of course, join the Raiders in 1987. Tampa needed to hit on this pick, so let's give them linebacker/defensive end Charles Haley, a 5-time Super Bowl champion and the lone Hall of Famer to come out of this class. Tennessee Titans, Brandon Marshall, 2006. Vince Young is undoubtedly the biggest bust in Titans history. anniversary. So let's correct that mistake by giving them Brandon Marshall at number 3 overall in 2006. Marshall actually didn't go until round 4 at 119th overall. He was only one of the best receivers of his era, hauling in 970 career receptions for 12,351 yards and 83 touchdowns. And that's with him never having an elite quarterback feeding him the ball. So we're sure he would have been a very special weapon in Music City. Washington Commanders, Russell Wilson, 2012. Wilson, the so-called undersized QB that went 75th overall in 2012, turned out to be the best signal caller of this deep class. Not Andrew Luck or Robert Griffin III, whom Washington took at number 2 overall. Injuries unfortunately derailed RG3's career. Wilson's high football IQ and powerful arm would have made him a much better long-term option in Washington. But how would you redraft your favorite NFL team's biggest bust? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.